Well, this week's show is widely considered to be one of the greatest of the Ruthless Aggression era, featuring the apex of an iconic in-ring comeback, a big return, and the debut of one of WWE's last great structure-based inventions in the Elimination Chamber. I'm talking about Survivor Series 2002 from November 17th at Madison Square Garden in New York City. This show was nominated by a lot of people: Peter Sedorn, Dylan Haggett, Liam Roberge, Fergus Jeffs, Michael Lee, Keith Matush, Antoine Daniels, Miguel Jr., and Andy Savardi over on patreon.com/wrestlingwithwregret. A salad of nearly 18,000 people in Madison Square Garden, 340,000 pay-per-view buys, which is actually the lowest number for a Survivor Series between 1998 and 2003. Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler are your announced team for Raw, Michael Cole and Taz for SmackDown. And the one comment I will make on the unique setup for Madison Square Garden at this show, to coin a phrase from Edge, giant swinging LED doors rule. Swing is king. The first match of the evening is a six-man tag elimination match, table style, as Bubba Ray Dudley, Spike Dudley, and Jeff Hardy take on 3 Minute Warning and Rico. When I heard 3 Minute Warning make their entrance, I'm like, was this a theme of theirs? Like, it was a generic rap beat. I guess there had to be a first theme before the one they would later have that I remember a lot more than this one, the one that's like
3 minutes and we're out of here. The clock is ticking and we're in the clear. We got
3 Minute Warning, the heavies for GM Eric Bischoff. There's Rosie and Jamal, the future Umaga. Sadly, neither man is with us anymore, and sometimes I'll sit and I'll think about, one or both of these guys and wonder, how much different or what their careers could have gone had they been able to live full lives and have full careers. At the time I'm filming this video, it's October 2020, and Roman Reigns is right now in the middle of a career renaissance, career revival, whatever you want to call it. The whole tribal chief thing, feuding with his cousin Jey Uso, doing some deep fantasy booking here, assuming everything about this angle were the same, only now Roman's brother and his cousin were still alive for this angle. Would they be involved as well? Would Jey Uso even be the person Roman's feuding with? A lot of things I've been thinking about as I see Rosie and Jamal here in their primes as part of 3 Minute Warning. Anyway, now that I've bummed you all out, Rico was Billy and Chuck's manager until he betrayed them at their wedding, and he's been running with 3 Minute Warning ever since. A minute into the match, Bubba hucks Spike into 3 Minute Warning. They catch him, then Jeff takes a big-ass tumble onto everyone. Rosie's on the warpath. He slams folks hither and yon, but he takes his own bump through the table when Spike moves out of the corner. Rosie fails to catch Hardy on a crossbody, covers for it, still gets the "you fucked up" chant. Jamal and Rosie catch the Dudley dog and just hurl Spike face first to the table. Holy mother of God, what a bump. I love that Rosie takes his own split-legged moonsault for a cutoff here. He and Jeff make their way to the outside into the crowd. Bubba escapes an avalanche and helps Jeff out. Hardy, with shades of the Royal Rumble 2000, diving off the ledge onto Rosie through a table. Back in the ring, Bubba gives Rico a big backdrop out of the corner, but Jamal moves the table. Jamal flies off the top rope and splats Hardy through a table on the floor, but moments later he gets powerbombed off the second rope through a table of his own. Damn. Down to Bubba and Rico. Jamal and Rosie show back up and just gang up on Bubba. Then Devon Dudley appears. No longer a reverend on SmackDown, he saves the day and helps out Bubba, hits a 3D on Rico through the final table to win. I give it 3.5 stars out of 5. This is a crazy opener with a lot of fun, wild thrills and spills. A lot of moments that definitely wowed me and also made me cringe, sometimes at the same time. This was the reunion of the Dudley boys. Bubba Ray and Devon. Splitting them up in the first place is a bad call, but I guess it kind of prepared fans for a future, especially in Impact Wrestling, when those two would not be a team forever. So in a way, this is kind of a test run for that. Stacy Keibler reporting from the World in Times Square, formerly WWF New York. She tosses to Saliva on stage to perform a musical number. Sure, we're one match in. Let's go for the piss break right about now. Up next, a match featuring two guys who are still deeply influential in the company to this day. Cruiserweight title on the line as Jamie Noble defends against Billy Kidman. Kidman's beaten Noble in a tag team match, then a non-title singles match a week later. He also debuts his new theme music on this night. I know I put this song as an honorable mention in my worst theme song list 100 years ago on the channel. The more I listen to it, it's not a bad theme. I just don't think it really ever fit Kidman. I mean, have you heard the lyrics to the song?
all of a sudden you start in the feel sleepy, but in these streets when you doze off, you wake up with your clothes off. Ashamed, feeling so lost. Whoa.
As the match begins, I notice there's a massive blood stain on the mat where there was not one before. Apparently Rico messed up his arm on the landing of that 3D in the last match. Also, they had to cover a hole in the canvas with tape. Just that one match in, that tables match took a lot out of the ring. Kidman starts out hot, but Noble stays aggressive. Kidman tries to come back, but Jamie just dumps him out of the ring. I think I found one of the best calls ever uttered by Taz after that moment.
Noble's got something up his sleeve here, but he has no shirt on, so he has no sleeves.
Noble with a dive to the outside, goes for a top rope drop kick but is intercepted. Kidman goes for a shooting star press, but Nydia pulls Noble out of the ring. Kidman dives onto him anyway. Back in the ring, Nydia cheats again. She slaps Kidman right in front of the referee. Noble crashes into Nydia and she goes flying. Pinfall attempt and Noble kicks out. Big sequence where Noble finally hits the Tiger Bomb, but Billy kicks out. A big-ass DDT off the top rope and a kick out. A different big-ass DDT by Noble, and Kidman kicks out. Kidman fights off Nydia and hits the shooting star press on Noble to win the match and the title, snapping Noble's 5-month reign. Kidman's 7th and final reign with the Cruiserweight title begins here. I also give this one 3.5 out of 5. Another highly enjoyable match. And again, you're going to see the influence that these two guys have on the current product today as backstage producers. Look at this match from 18 years ago and tell me that it wouldn't fit perfectly in a card of today's WWE. And not just as a novelty, as, oh, the Cruiserweights, they do things differently, but almost kind of a norm for the rest of the roster, the big and the small almost. Backstage, Kurt Angle has a great pep talk for his partner Chris Benoit, saying, "If Billy frickin' Kidman can win tonight, then you and I can win back our tag titles." He tells Chris to stay out of the team captain's way. Benoit gets in Kurt's face over that comment. Kurt calms him down by saying they're pals, amigos, bosom buddies, and nobody can beat them if they work together. Benoit offers his hand, but then Angle steals a line from Tommy Boy.
Tag team partners, got a hug. Come here. We're gonna get him tonight, buddy.
Then it's time for the F-View, the short-lived hidden camera gimmick that started in kayfabe by Eric Bischoff in an effort to drum up controversy and ratings by spying on people. It's like GTV, only way less memorable. This time we see Victoria asking, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the prettiest diva of them all?" The mirror apparently tells her it's Trish, and ladies be crazy. So on we go to a hardcore match for the Women's Championship as Trish Stratus defends against Victoria. Victoria famously first made it onto TV for the World Wrestling Federation as one of the Godfather's hoes, eventually came back here, and her character was she was a former fitness model like Trish Stratus, and they were both courted by WWE, but she claims that Trish used politics to keep her down and keep her away from being signed, so now she's come back for revenge. She's a lot of crazy with a side of lesbian overtones. They fought last month for the title at No Mercy, and Trish retained, so here's the rematch. JR says on commentary it's the first hardcore match for the Women's Championship since Unforgiven 99. Victoria starts by using Trish's ring jacket as a weapon. We actually get an HLA chant for a moment, which is tragic. Victoria chokes out Trish with the broomstick, but Trish powers out. Why are the weapons in trash cans tied to the ring post? I don't think I've ever seen that setup before. Trish slingshots Victoria into a trash can in the corner and takes over, throws her into an ironing board. Trish with some cane shots, Victoria with a trash can lid. Victoria's nose is busted. Victoria pulls out a big mirror and she brings it into the ring after staring at herself, which is a great shot here because she's bloody and everything. It's a really cool look. We get a sloppy bulldog of some kind out of the corner. Victoria grabs a fire extinguisher. It doesn't go off right away. Then it does, right in Trish's face. Then the devastating snap suplex for Victoria to win the match and the championship. This one gets 2 stars out of 5 for me. A bit sloppy at times. You know, you could tell these two really given it their all in this matchup, but it really resulted in some just ugly work in the ring, but still a good overall effort. And like I said, this was the first of would be many championship reigns for Victoria. Backstage, the coach interviews Raw GM Eric Bischoff. So, what can we expect from the Elimination Chamber? History and future, Bischoff says. The Big Show appears behind him and tells Eric he'll prove that he made a mistake in trading him to SmackDown when he becomes the new WWE Champion. Elsewhere backstage, Paul Heyman admits he's nervous for Brock Lesnar because he's fighting the Big Show while he is hurt, but he says that he will do whatever it takes for his client to walk out as champion. Up next, the next big thing, Brock Lesnar defends his WWE Championship against The Big Show. Lesnar remains undefeated so far, still less than a year into his rookie year on the main roster, had a hellacious, very bloody Hell in a Cell match with The Undertaker at No Mercy the previous month. Ever since then, Paul Heyman's been warning Brock to slow down, that he hasn't been the same physically since that match. Brock thinks Heyman's being overbearing, starts to stand up for himself. Also, Brock is working with legitimate broken rib at this time, like a rib broken clean off the rest of the rib cage, just floating around in his body, and he's working with a torn PCL at the same time. It is a miracle. It is nuts that Lesnar's working at all in this matchup. The Big Show, by the way, was recently traded to SmackDown by a vindictive Eric Bischoff. Show turns heel and beats up The Undertaker and writes him off for a bit and is given this title match. Lesnar, showing no fear, gets right in Big Show's face at the beginning, a big "Let's go Lesnar" chant. Show is powerful, but so is Lesnar. Each man takes the other down. Show goes for a choke slam, but Lesnar slips out and hits a, quote, suplex. suplex. He even hits the German on him later on. Referee goes down, Lesnar with a belly-to-belly on Shawn. Lesnar with a big F5 on the Big Show, and the fans go nuts. Another referee enters the ring, makes the count, but Heyman pulls him out and decks him. Brock realizes what just happened and chases Heyman. The Big Show cuts him off with a big-ass chair shot and a chokeslam on the chair, and Show wins. Another screw job at Survivor Series. Lesnar suffering his first pinfall loss. Show becomes the new champion, and he's gained Paul Heyman as his manager. I give it 1.5 stars out of 5. It's not much of a match. It's fairly short. It's under 5 minutes long. It's mostly just suplexes, but the points are given because it's always impressive to see O2 Lesnar throwing giant dudes around like it ain't no thing, even when he's working with a broken rib and a torn PCL. Kudos to that man. As for Heyman's betrayal, it was super obvious, but it didn't take away from the story and the matchup. Though from a kayfabe perspective, I have no idea why, even when Lesnar is hurt, why Heyman would ditch this up-and-coming prospect, this sure thing in Brock Lesnar, for the Big Show. And as Heyman and the Big Show escape Madison Square Garden via limousine, so begins Brock Lesnar's face turn, which would reach its peak at Mania 19 against Kurt Angle. The run as a babyface would last less than a year, but give him credit for trying, and at the time it began, the fans seemed to be kind of into it at least. In the crowd, we see Al Wilson, Tori's dad, and his fiancée, Dawn Marie. Look at Al. Look at Dawn. Look at Al. Look at Dawn. The legendary SmackDown Sixer in action in a three-way dance for the Tag Team Championships as Edge and Rey Mysterio defend against Chris Benoit and Kurt Angle and Eddie and Chavo Guerrero. Last month at No Mercy, Angle and Benoit beat Edge and Rey in the tournament finals to become the first WWE Tag Team Champions SmackDown style, but Kurt and Chris are constantly butting heads and fighting with each other. It ultimately leads to them losing the belts to Edge and Rey in a 2 out of 3 falls match on SmackDown. Also, Eddie and Chavo have been meddling in the affairs of both teams, so that makes it a three-way dance here. Starting off with Benoit and Mysterio, Rey makes it to one move before adjusting his mask for the first time. Lots of quick tags, everyone getting a little bit of time to work each other early on. Rey with a couple of scary moments back to back, one where he clips his head on the top rope when he's running it, then a moment later where he tries to land on his feet on the top turnbuckle but slips and takes a nasty looking fall. Rey gets worked over by the two other teams for several minutes. He finally flips out of an Angle suplex attempt. We get a double down. The Guerreros leave Angle high and dry, so he tags in Benoit. Edge comes in, and the pace of the match speeds up like crazy. Edge goes for a spear, but Angle with the drop toe hold into an ankle lock crossface combo, but Mysterio makes a save. Eddie with a top rope sunset flip onto Benoit, who hits a German on Edge at the same time. We get a kick out. Eddie with a frog splash on Edge. Benoit with a diving headbutt to Guerrero. Submissions in stereo, but Chavo hits Benoit with one of the title belts, hands it off to Angle. Now Benoit thinks Angle did it. Classic misunderstanding. Edge spears Benoit to eliminate he and Angle, but the former champs get some final shots in on everyone before they leave. Edge taking heat from the Guerreros, but Rey enters the ring and does good lucha things, but Chavo strikes the title belt again. A lasso from El Paso on Rey, who taps out. Eddie and Chavo win the belts. I give it 4 stars out of 5. Lots of great work from all 6 guys here. There's a reason that SmackDown earned the reputation of being the wrestling show around this time, and all 6 of these guys were directly responsible for that. They were given a lot of time to just keep working each other week after week, month after month, and they built up a great, resume of matches here, a great portfolio, and this is just one of those. Before our main event, in comes Harvard grad and Tough Enough finalist Christopher Nowinski, who recently debuted in the ring last month. He says that intelligence is better than street smarts, and says that New York is number 1 in stupidity. Oh, in comes Matt Hardy version 1, who only drinks low-fat chocolate milk. Hardy says that New Yorkers aren't stupid, they're losers. Big difference. These people are sucking the matitude out of him. These two can't make up their minds. Are New Yorkers stupid or are they losers? Well, they come to a compromise and agree that New Yorkers are loopid. As Matt and Chris celebrate their new dumb word, out comes Scott Steiner. The former WCW champion and arguably the hottest free agent in wrestling at the time makes his WWE return. Big Papa Pump lays waste to both men. He famously asks for a fucking mic, says that he's everyone's hookup, and he wants them to confirm that they heard him, and they do. And so begins the second WWE journey of Scott Steiner, which it starts off strong, but then goes pretty much downhill from there. Find out more about that in this video right here in the corner. Backstage, Terry interviews Shawn Michaels about the Elimination Chamber when they're cut off by an RNN breaking news update. A very young Randy Orton giving the fans an update on his shoulder injury recovery. I remember this happening at the time, like he got the shoulder injury, and this is like right before he came back to be part of Evolution. And so like it went a very different direction than kind of what the RNN stuff was suggesting, because Orton's character from that to Evolution are very different, I think. But this was still very entertaining stuff, and I was very looking much forward to Orton and how he would progress as a heel, even from back here this time. Elsewhere, Triple H says he's going to go through everyone in the chamber to remain the champion, says he has a first-class ticket to hell, and wants to know who's coming with him. Well, it's time for our main event. Now, according to legend, Triple H fought really hard to bring back the War Games match for Survivor Series 2002, but Vince McMahon was very much against it. So this was the compromise, the debut of the Elimination Chamber. Part Survivor Series, part Rumble, part War Games, a storyline creation of Eric Bischoff's. He has revealed it as his master plan for attention and ratings, his counter to SmackDown's Hell in a Cell match at No Mercy, 10 tons of solid steel with 2 miles of chain throughout, and it will be the centerpiece for our main event for the world title as Triple H defends against Kane, Booker T, Chris Jericho, Rob Van Dam, and a returning Shawn Michaels in his first match back since SummerSlam 2002. I will say I always liked the original chamber design, but considering how apparently it was, according to what everyone says, very unforgiving, very painful, very hard to work around, which you'll see in this match here, I'm surprised that it took them so long to update the design to the one we currently have now, where it's visibly, like it's larger, there's more room for spots, there's padding on the ground to make it safer and easier to land on. I get why they did that, to make it not hurt so damn much, but it makes you wonder like why they wait so many years to upgrade from this design, which actually aesthetically I like this one a lot more than the current chamber, but I understand why they upgraded to it. A lot of people are gunning for Triple H and his title, none more so than Shawn Michaels, who Triple H took out with a sledgehammer after SummerSlam, or Kane, who was recently accused of having sex with his girlfriend's corpse, followed up with that infamous Katie Vick video. Chris Jericho comes out to his short-lived theme by Saliva, who are all freaking over this show. I did like the Jericho theme though. Shawn Michaels in the poop brown tights and the weird haircut, we've acknowledged it, moving on. The first two men to begin this match are Triple H and Rob Van Dam. H with the first bump on the steel floor. He's really bumping all over the place here. He's bleeding already. Out next 5 minutes later is Chris Jericho. Eventually the heels double team RVD, but Rob fights back. Booker T is next, and he's a house of fire. He and RVD get some time in the ring by themselves. Booker hits Triple H with the scissors kick, which sets H up for the RVD, who climbs the chamber pod with a big frog splash from the top of the pod, but in doing so, accidentally injures Triple H, landing on his throat with his knee. Hunter legitimately suffered a bruised trachea as a result, and threw the whole rest of the match for a loop while he recovers because all the spots they had tentatively planned were out the window. Booker with a missile dropkick onto RVD, and Van Dam's eliminated. Out comes Kane, who according to Chris Jericho in his book, came out prematurely. Apparently, Shawn Michaels was supposed to come out 5th and Kane out last, but in this match where they're supposed to have like total control of their environment and like who comes out when, they somehow screwed it up. And so Kane comes out next and again throws everything off. So between Triple H getting hurt and Kane coming out before he was supposed to and throwing all whatever sequences of spots they had planned, like it's amazing that they were able to carry on as well as they did and make it look relatively seamless. Kane throwing people around, he hurls Jericho through the allegedly bulletproof plexiglass of the, he hits Kane with a missile dropkick and everyone's down in time for Shawn Michaels to finally emerge last. H avoids a tombstone and Kane walks right into a super kick followed by a pedigree and a huge lion salt by Jericho over half the length of the ring. Kane is gone. Triple H and Jericho working together to wear down Michaels. Shawn fights back, but Jericho backdrops him on the steel. Shawn with a big standing moonsault on Jericho, then the walls, but Triple H attacks Shawn. Jericho pins him. Triple H pulls him off. Why did he do that? Jericho and Triple H start going at it. Jericho with the walls on Triple H, then Shawn with sweet chin music out of nowhere on Jericho. Y2J is gone and we're down to Triple H and Michaels. Triple H catapults Shawn through the bulletproof glass on another pod. Why they bother to order so much bulletproof glass for this chamber when the problem clearly is making the glass people-proof? Shawn tries to mount another comeback, but H cuts him off, clotheslines him over the ropes into the outside. Triple H goes for a pedigree, but Shawn slings him into the wall. Back in the ring, Shawn goes to the top of a pod, hits the flying elbow, goes for sweet chin music, but Triple H blocks it, hits the pedigree. Triple H takes 27 seconds to climb onto Shawn and get the pinfall, but Shawn kicks out. And in case you're keeping score, it took Triple H 23 seconds to pin Booker T after hitting the pedigree in their match at WrestleMania 19, which Triple H won. If only Booker T had been able to have like 4 more seconds of recovery time. Another pedigree attempt backfires, the sweet chin music, the pinfall, Shawn Michaels wins, and the crowd absolutely goes nuts. It's hard to believe that Shawn winning was not the original plan. I give it 3.5 stars out of 5. This match was dramatic and very physical at times. I thought the story of Shawn coming back to win the world title after 4 years off and his second match back from that hiatus was very cool, and the fans were definitely into that. But I thought it was kind of slow at times, a little repetitive, and that was kind of an issue. It probably was a matter of circumstance because the big botches they had, Triple H's injury and Kane's early, release into the chamber, probably messed up whatever flow they had planned going into this thing. I believe we'll go on to see better chamber matches in the future, but for a first time out with no real template on to build off of, not bad. This was Shawn's final run as a world champion, and apparently it was not originally in the cards because at the time he wasn't working a full schedule, but I can't think of any other scenario in that matchup that would have led to a better outcome or have the fans happier in the end. Who wanted to see Triple H retain after all that? Shawn's win also helped keep the feud going for a while with their big 3 Stages of Hell title match at Armageddon and their subsequent wars over the next couple of years. My grade for Survivor Series 2002 is an A-. I was thinking about this show and comparing it to Survivor Series 03. I had to go back and watch that review to get my grade for that one. Was 02 better or worse than 03? I think they were about equal for me. I think both had a lot of good stuff, and the bad stuff wasn't that bad, honestly. I think this show had a lot of great moments and some amazing talent on display. There were some surprising moments, some big wow moments as well. Some not exactly surprising, but still dramatic moments in the show. I think it was, a very entertaining show overall, and definitely one of the better ones of the era. If you want to play a role in determining which shows I look at, be they good, bad, or somewhere in between, go to patreon.com/wrestlingwithregret, become a $10 backer or above, and you'll have the chance to nominate classic shows for me to review. Next time we're going to do one more Survivor Series for the month of November is out. I'm looking at Survivor Series 1993. I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.